Well, hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. I hope you're having a day where it feels like you're able to feel a bit expansive. Haven't seen the videos before, welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness. I'm driving, so I won't be looking at the camera quite as much. I wanted to also apologize ahead of time for the sound. I do not have my Bluetooth speakers, so it might be a bit loud in the background, but we'll decide if we're going to post it or not. How's everybody feeling? All right, I'm just going to go in and drop into a little car flow just because it helps put me in a higher state of resonance and it allows me to kind of be in a coherent space. And basically, I do a reading while I drive, intuitive reading through my synchronicities. Cheers. Start with a little cup of little Java. Woo. And so as we move into these new times, we really wish to share and express. And that's kind of the message, is to share and express. We really wish for you to share and express the reality in which we're co-creating. And let us play with this. For you are thinking, you're thinking. That as you share and express the reality you are co-creating, that comes naturally. But we wish to invite you to share. We wish to invite you to follow your heart and open to the resources that are laden within you. And I'm hearing latent and laying within, and I'm hearing dormant. For many have activated the codex for the sequencing of information within the DNA architecture that is necessary for this next stage of development. And while some that are, I'm hearing poo-pooers and naysayers would say, well, that's already happening, we would invite you to open your minds and recognize that the times we are in are not the times we once were encapsulated within. And therefore, how our DNA expresses and weaves with this new reality structure is new. How we understand this reality structure and how we express ourselves is new. Everything is shaping our reality, our perspectives, and our point of view. Many people, as we have pointed out before, are looking at the same space as if it is the same space. Play on words. They're not realizing that the space that we are all moving through has shifted to accommodate us. We are changing our accommodations. We are opening to wider, bigger, and more expansive combinations. So it's all a play of words. Like our accommodations are what we live in, our bodies, our energy, the environment, the earth. But I'm also hearing accommodating. So the structure that's around us responds to us. And this is why so many spiritual teachers have been saying, focus on you. It's not about us focusing and being selfish, but it is about us allowing this higher version, our higher self, to be embodied. And so as we go out into the world and we share in our new revelations, new creative ideas and thought forms, it creates an energetic, I'm hearing the word pendulum. So I just kind of started tuning into that book. You guys read it, Transurfing Reality. It's Tuti, the priestess, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I don't necessarily follow the channel on it, so I'm not really sure what that's all about. But I did find the book, and I recognize it's a lot of what the yogis talk about. It's just another variation or version of how we can utilize our visualization as a tool. I'm sure it's more than that. I haven't read the whole thing, but I'm being called to share that because in the book, the person who wrote it, credit to them, I'll share that in the link, talks about pendulums. And I didn't quite understand that. And basically, my interpretation of what they're saying is it's like a thought form or collective energy. And this goes back to what I've understood that the guides talk about is we are creating our reality. So our thought forms that we hold more frequently are, they're conductive. We're conducting energy essentially. I'll have to pause for a moment. Okay, so basically, the more cohesive those thought forms become, the more they materialize. And I don't know if that's what the book is saying. I am not fully submerged into that material, but I like to take a sprinkle here, a sprinkle there. And what I usually find is books or information will line up in front of me that I might benefit from. I follow it synchronistic. And even some of the things I read that I don't resonate with, I recognize why I'm not resonating with it. So, meaning when I say don't resonate, we can all be validated on how we're feeling. It's like we might, and especially with AI and everything that, or whatever you call the feedback loop. If we keep looking up travel plans, our social media is going to give us more of that. It's the same idea. So if we're looking for reasons why everything is falling apart, we're going to get more of those reasons. It's going to show up for us, especially if we're following, the political conversation or following those types of conversations in which things are unraveling and falling apart. It can lead to that sense of, well, I thought so. Here it is. But I want to encourage everybody to feel what resonates on a different level. And the guides have always referred to it as the sound behind the sound. So if we're watching something and it makes us feel awful, recognizing that, integrating that feeling, not ignoring it, but also recognizing that maybe that isn't something that's healthy for us to continue to observe, look at, and participate with throughout the day, all day long, on a regular basis. So part of this is about us recognizing that the cohesive thoughts is a pattern. And the more we follow that pattern, the bigger it becomes. And the more it, according to this book, just takes on a life of its own. And that's how I view our reality being created in general. So I don't know, maybe someone out there will find it helpful or more confusing. I don't know. Each of us learns in our own way, right? And so this is just something I came across I thought was kind of fun. And the other thing I'm being asked to remind everybody to kind of recognize is recognize where we are limiting ourselves. That's the other message that keeps coming up, because it comes back to our own resourcefulness. A lot of us follow a particular book or a particular teaching and gain and glean very valuable ahas and awakenings from that particular writing or teaching. But there comes a point when sometimes we're being called to really, it's experiential, is what I'm hearing. So recognizing that this is about us having experience in what it is that we're reading about. As many of you know, you can read a book all day long about grief, but until you've actually gone through grief, it isn't the same. And so that's why a lot of people are called to particular types of work. And so recognizing that each person is going through their own individual unique experience in the way that they need to go through it. It isn't necessarily the way we need to go through it. And that was another big message I've been talking about for years. It seems like common sense, right? But when you're in it, it's not. It's sometimes it's frustrating to watch somebody else going through their fifth breakup, and they haven't learned that, dating someone who is not a good match for them consistently is showing up for them as a pattern to recognize. But it isn't necessarily our job to point that out to them or to share that with them. Sometimes we have to learn things or experience certain things. And what I'm being reminded of is sometimes we experience 5 different things that seem like the same, but they're not. We got something different from them every single time, even if it ended the same. That's something else that's really important to recognize. But what I'm being shown, back to what I was being shown earlier, is that we're in a whole different reality. And I'm hearing future tripping. So ultimately, I talked about this 6 years ago, or we've been hearing about the golden age, because I'm being called to say what I've talked about just because I'm not sure what everybody else is saying in regards to time and timelines. Exactly. I think it's different for everyone. Some people are saying, okay, this is it, we're in the golden age. And some people saying, well, that's not going to happen until 2030, whatever. What I'm hearing is it's irrelevant. We can tap into that now. We have the ability to draw ourselves towards that eventuality, or to, from another perspective, bring it towards us. And then we can then move into that reality before somebody else tells us it's time. And that's something else to keep in mind, because that's hilarious. There's a FedEx truck in front of me and I never knew if right below it, as I said that, I just looked at it, it says the world on time. So there's my validation of what I'm tuning into, right? And I'm reading it as an interpretation of the fact that we're moving into a new way and a new chapter of how we work with time. And that's an ongoing message. Things are happening faster. We're co-creating faster. Even though it may not feel like that sometimes. So part of that message is everyone's on their own time. This isn't something that we all have to do something right now. We've already done it. We've already reached that point. And I think there's still a big group of people that don't think we have. And part of the reason is because we're not seeing it reflected back to us in the current world circumstances. And that's a play on words. I'm not sure exactly, but I'll maybe come back to that later. I always say that. So what's happening is we're being called to focus on our own time. And that's how we navigate our own reality, our own template, our own structure. While there's this massive, all these massive changes that are going on, what I'm hearing is they're going to take time. Even though things are happening faster, it doesn't necessarily look like that out there. But we can feel it, right? I don't know if you guys can, but I can feel oftentimes lately, if I'm thinking of something, it shows up for me right there, just like that truck. Or if I'm focusing on something, things are happening faster. So this is where those of us who have done the work, and this is no judgment against those who haven't per se, because ultimately we're all having an experience, right? But there's those people who don't want to do the work, and that's not necessarily what they came here to do. Some would argue we all came here to do that. And maybe that's true from one perspective. From the perspective that I'm sharing, it's not about them. It's about us and what we came here to do. So we're being called to actively share from a I'm hearing from a constructive and I'm hearing definitive way. So it's like, how can we share and show up what we came here to share and not push that on others? So it's constructive. It's like, when you have a constructive, I don't want to use the word criticism because that's not it, but you know what I mean? Like, you give somebody something, they tell you, how do you feel about this? And you say, well, I really liked this, but I think we could work maybe a little better in this area. And what I'm hearing is that's important right now for communication. Because a lot of us are finding our voice. A lot of us are finding our inner voice where we've been, let's say, held back before from speaking how we feel, or we've held ourselves back. And what I'm being shown is if we can find that voice constructively and recursively, can't remember, that has to do with waves. rather than destructively, it's going to change and shift things much faster in a positive way, which is what most of us want. So these are things to just keep in mind, is what I'm hearing. And as we do this, we come across, that's the plan words, we come across much more mature, wholeheartedly. Okay, I'm seeing that. And we come across at a crossroads, which is now, and we stretch farther. Ooh, I'm being shown a lot right now. So we reach farther, we have farther impact, but stretching also has to do with us being more resilient. As as a fitness person, right? I talk about it's important to stretch, because if not, we're rigid, right? We break things become brittle. And we want to be able to stretch farther and not limit ourselves again to how we think things need to fit in our particular paradigm or box set of reality. And that's also plan words. So this is challenging for some. So the more open-hearted, open-minded we can be, and the more we recursively digest our own shadow, the easier it is for us to see the impact that is, I'm hearing, being made clairvoyantly, recursively, energetically, frequently. Interesting. So I'm seeing like a lot of people aren't able to see the positive impacts that they've had because they're stuck in their own shadow. Ooh, I have a limited time here, but I see what the guides are kind of trying to show about this. So there's a lot of people, I've brought this up before, who are actually stuck in shadow work. It's like more and more and more shadow work. And the guides are like, let it go. You don't have to keep doing therapy to rehash your old problems. If you've never done it, maybe it would be helpful, But what I'm also being shown is that there's those that haven't done the shadow work, right? So they haven't digested it. Do you ever put like too much on your plate and you can't digest it takes so long to digest your food? I'm seeing that as a reference to like people have they're not able to digest it. Also, what I'm being shown is people are taking so there's a lot going on right now, you guys. And if we're constantly looking at social media as an example, it could be places we want to travel to, experiences we want to have, mixed in with political stuff, mixed in with stuff we want to learn about. I mean, even that can be overwhelming. What I'm hearing is get outside, eat a sandwich, like get back to just the simple pleasures in life. And stop focusing on what we don't have or what we need to create or what we feel like we're missing out on. What is it? FOMO. So there's something about that. I just did the wrong turn. Funny thing about that, I actually was traveling recently, and both times I went to get on the plane, somebody else was in my seat. Definitely think that's symbolic. And so there was I feel like, yeah, I'm going to play with that later. But okay, so I'm just going to get back on point. We each have our own unique blueprint. And many of us are superimposing our blueprint on others. This is not the best way of seeing our our desired reality come to fruition. We are being called to walk in our own shoes for a bit, recognize our own feet and our own footprint that we are leaving, not the footprint of the collective. If each individual took charge, took a moment to reflect on their own shadow and what they need to dissolve, and simultaneously continue to co-create together, the shadow work would not be so overwhelming. The light would be able to show or shine more from within. And the collapse of what we are, I'm hearing the collapse of society, but that's a play on words a little bit, society, would be less, I'm hearing the word angry. So there's something about that. You know, a lot of people are angry over what they're witnessing. They're angry over other people's responses to what they're witnessing, or lack of response, just angry. And this comes from our own feelings of being misunderstood, misrepresented, and our own feelings of lack of control. And so this is a difficult, what I did. This is difficult to sometimes accept. Seeing sometimes our shortcomings and other people's shortcomings that we judge as shortcomings, instead recognizing they're part of the human experience. So I could dive into this, but again, I'm low on time. World on time. I'm on time. One of the things to recognize is that our shortcomings are part of what makes us who we are. We're how we learn. And so if we're looking at everybody else's shortcomings, recognizing that we're learning from that too. And it doesn't make it right or wrong. It just is what it is. But the more we can focus on being shown as our own shoes, we then recognize when it's time to take those off and let somebody borrow them, or when we have, I keep seeing people are, two versions. One, they're running before they walk, and they're running on the treadmill. This is another, they're running on a treadmill and they think they're getting somewhere. I see other people that are afraid to walk. And then I'm being shown people who are laden down. Again, there's that word that's coming up, with the heaviness of their own shoes. It's almost like, I don't want to put those shoes on. And what I'm hearing is, so don't. They're old shoes. Get rid of them. And that has back to do with the shadow work. Recognizing that each of us has done a lot of us have done the work. So maybe it's time to enjoy life a little bit. Maybe it's time to let go of all of that. And when we start letting go of that within ourselves, it actually has an impact on the collective. And then the collective starts to go, why are we doing this still? Why are we playing this game? This isn't good for humanity. Let's try a different course of action, because we are the ones that are creating this collective experience, these thought patterns. We're the ones creating the material, cohesive materialism. So we're starting to see that falling apart, which is a good thing. And it's just uncomfortable right now. Even though in the long run, what I'm hearing, again, back to runners in shoes, this is movement. This is what movement looks like. And I know that it's frustrating for some of us, but if we can, okay, let's see what I got going on here. If we can clear out those distortions about ourselves and let go of the ones we have about everybody else, it will create a brand new world. And we're already in that brand new world, is what the guides are trying to share. And I'm going to end on this note. We're not seeing it yet because we're not seeing it necessarily within ourselves. And that's where we have to start. Or we're seeing it within ourselves, but we're not trusting. It's like waiting for the other shoe to drop kind of thing. So all of these things is what we're being called. We're being called to call ourselves out on it. Oh my gosh, there's so much more, you guys. Woo. So in love and light, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Take a deep breath. Walk a little barefoot outside today. Stick your feet in some sand, some dirt, whatever it might be. Get out your crystals. Do something silly and get out of our own way. In love and light, guys. Namaste.